What's happening, guys? Shay here. I'll even bounce up you guys as well. So I am feeling pretty jubilant today. I've even got my Christmas jumper on because it's snowing outside and England have somehow won in India. Christmas must have come early this year, guys. I'm delighted to talk about England's fantastic, emphatic 227-run victory today in Chennai in the first test of the 4-test match series. Here to analyse the test with me, commiserate and celebrate accordingly. We've got Lucy, change the overs. Krishna, Anurag, and Aditya. And we've got Sign somewhere in the background as well, I think, who will join us a bit later. Guys, can I ask how you all doing? Obviously, Luce, I know you're very happy. We've got a few guys licking wounds on the show. Krishna, Anurag, Aditya, how you guys? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. I suppose cricket is the winner even if your team doesn't win. I'm not so sure I'd be so generous if India had won, but anyway, cricket is the winner.
That's a very diplomatic way of putting it, Aditya. Krishna, any more of an emotional response from you? We're going to get some things flung around the room, and we've seen your fantastic rapping, guys. By the way, you got to go and watch Krishna's rap review. 56 seconds, very solemn to the heart. Against you, man. As an Indian fan today, but he encapsulates it very well. What happened today, we'll obviously get into a bit later. Anurag, how are you feeling?
Well, for a guy who's given a 2-1 prediction, I think it is okay. We're going to win the next 2 matches, so I'm fine with that.
Also, Anurag is very confident. To be fair to Lucy, I think I almost pretty much laughed at Lucy when she said 3-0 to England, I believe it was, when we talked about it a few days ago. But it looks like Lucy's the right one. Obviously, Anurag as well. Let's see if India can come back. Anyway, let's just crack on with the show. Obviously, England win what was, as it showed, a very, very important toss. It's generally very important in India. Chennai, as we all know about it, that it plays quite well as a batting team in the first couple of days. Then it starts to deteriorate, and we very much saw that type of pitch, even with a change of creator going into this test match. I see England win a toss, make 578. Joe Root, absolutely incredible, 218. This guy didn't score a century last year. To score 3 daddies on the bounce, 2 doubles, and also the 186. He's now averaging, I believe, 114 in 2021. I'll head to you, Lucy. What is your opinion, obviously, in Joe Root's this innings and generally speaking? Do you feel, obviously, a lot of talk about him being such a great player of spin bowling. Do you feel like he's now mastered spin conditions? Is his batting tailor-made for the subcontinent?
Yeah, so I saw a tweet not so long ago from a journalist, and I thought nothing of it really, but it said Joe Root's the best batsman that England have had to play against spin. And I thought that's a bit of a bad statement to say of all time. But then I thought more about it, and I'm starting to agree with it. I just think he's exceptional. And this year he's really proved himself. Like, I think it was on day one of the Channel 4 coverage, they showed a graph of his averages, and this year it's just through the roof. He's honestly exceptional.
Yeah, so 114 average, absolutely, yeah, incredible this year. I mean, Anurag, what in terms of his innings, obviously you saw it's 218. I mean, it really took the game away from. It set up the momentum for England so well over these 5 days. What was your thoughts on his stroke play? And obviously, we talked a lot about his sweeping, obviously in Sri Lanka, which he didn't play so much of it as we know. But was you impressed with his shot making this innings?
Well, I'm not sure if he has mastered the Asian conditions, but he's definitely back into the Fab Four, if you see. The last few innings have really defined on what kind of a cricketer he is. The mastery over playing spin, shepherding the middle order, and making sure England posts a huge total. He's made sure as a captain he has scored a perfect knock everywhere at whatever opportunity he has got. So I think he has to continue this form in order for England to win again. But again, if other batsmen can support him, then nothing can stop England.
Aditya, would you agree?
Has Joe Root mastered Indian conditions? I mean, subcontinental conditions. He was never. I think there was never any question about Joe Root's versatility as a batsman. And since he made his debut back in 2012 in India, he always looked the part. So I don't think there was ever any question of whether Joe Root would struggle or not. Because even in the 2016 tour, I believe he was averaging close to 50. So I'm not surprised to see Joe Root do well in India, or that he did fantastically well in Sri Lanka. uh, his innings was fantastic, and even though us Indians typically claim the mantle of having the batsmen that are best suited to play spin, uh, we can only admire Joe Root for the way he really showed us how to play, world class spinners in these conditions. So kudos to him. Very good for England, very good for world cricket, and very good for the series.
She froze.
It looks like Shea froze there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just for one.
All right. Is he back?
Oh, sorry, guys.
Yeah, he's back.
Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
he's back.
Sorry about that. God, we just lost a couple of minutes there. And we've still got our one view.
Oh,
Frozen
Oops.
again. Someone needs to take a screenshot of that.
By the way, for those of you who are watching, please stay.
Yes.
Please.
Liv? You take it down. Is everything right with the router?
this is cold.
There we go. Okay. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
This is why I shouldn't be moved away from downstairs. Anyway, let me just add Sion back in. Hopefully this won't happen again. Apologies, guys, for that. Yeah, I was quickly saying, obviously, going into this test match, Dominic Sibley's under a bit of scrutiny. He obviously made a 50 in Sri Lanka in the second test. Did very well. These kind of conditions are suited to him, especially England set up to set the game late, I believe the tactics are. He scored, I think it was 80 odd of 286 balls. Quite slow going, 30 strike rate. Him and Stokes, very different innings, but really propped up England's Joe Root and the 5-7-8. What were your thoughts, Krishna, on both Sibley and Stokes?
I think at least we discussed last time that England should look to bat long sessions, right? I guess Dom Sibley took that one step further and said, "I'll bat, as long as possible." I think he really did a Pujara, if you will. And I think that really set up guys like Root and Stokes to come and score runs. I think I would say Root and Stokes' runs, at least like maybe 20% of those runs should have gone to Sibley and maybe made his 100. Just if cricket were a game where you could gift runs from one batsman to another, I would have done that. But sadly, that's not the game that it is. But yeah, I think Sibley definitely set the tone for England in terms of the way he negotiated that new ball and the way he negotiated the fast bowlers. And also, I think once the ball had gotten old, and I think once the pitch was really not offering anything at all, I think that's when Stokes really changed the pace of the game and helped them, take that total from, say, a 340, 350, maybe even a 400 to a 550, 570, which is what they eventually ended up with. So I think kudos to both Stokes and Sibley for playing well. And Stokes had also averaged something like 26 before coming in to this game. So he must have done his average a good notch there.
Boost, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was a bit of a killer blow. Well, it's not killer blow, but a sucker punch, I felt. End of the first day, and Dominic Sibley gets out last over. You have to make him did so well on that day, so patient. And then obviously then England are 263 for 3 going to day 2. It's some echo there. I wouldn't necessarily say that England were under. They were still in the box seat, but not as maybe as firmly as they did after Stokes departed. He came in. Him and Root put on 127. He scored 82 of them. It was a phenomenal partnership, and really one that took the game away, I felt, from India on that second day. Any kind of hope they had to maybe get England out under 375 was obviously dissipated once Stokes departed. Sign, we'll head over to you. Sign, if you're there. Sign, you're there.
Yeah.
Just head to you. What were your thoughts on Ben Stokes' knock? The way he's a counter-attacking flair and the way he wrestled the game away from India on day 2.
Well, let's see. the morning session, he comes and he just blows away the part-time spinners in Washington Sundar and Shahbaz Nadeem. Just goes like over the top. I felt it was brilliant because that was the point when the pitch was starting to show its demons a bit. It was starting to turn a bit, and then he just went like, well, I'll reverse sweep it for four. I felt it was a brilliant knock, like something which Rishabh Pant could do.
It was, yeah. We'll definitely get to Rishabh Pant in a bit. I mean, I think what's key was he scored at 4 and over in that partnership as well, with Stokes dominating. And we had, small contributions in middle order from Pope and Butler, and said England made 5, 7, 8. And India seemed on the rack. I mean, even then, to be honest with you, I just felt it'd be 500 against 500. I think a few people did still feel that way, that if England can do that, then India can come out the same way. But obviously it wasn't to be. Was it a case of England batted really well, or did India bowl poorly? Obviously, Nadeem came into the side. That was, for me, a very left field pick. I believe he was the net bowler in this part of the squad. So we never discussed Nadeem, did we, in the pre-match show? But obviously he did okay. I'm not necessarily sure he should have been picked. But Aditya, if I head to you, do you feel maybe the makeup of the bowling attack was slightly off?
Personally, I would have picked Kuldeep instead of Nadeem because he's a wrist spinner and he'd get more revolutions on the ball and would perhaps exploit the conditions on offer better. But I can also understand why Nadeem was picked, which is because if you look at Ashwin, Sundar and Kuldeep, essentially they're all turning the ball the same way, in the same direction, whereas Nadeem would be turning it left arm off spinner, is going to be turning it away from the right-hander. So I think that's the reason that they wanted to pick Nadeem and perhaps give the team a bit more variety. I guess they wanted a like-for-like replacement for Jadeja minus his batting skills. So Nadeem offered them that. Personally, I don't agree, but I can see why they do that. Look, I think the bowling was okay. It was the fielding and actually no, I'm sorry, I'm going to rephrase that. The bowling was average because I don't think you can bowl 27 no balls in an innings. That's just unacceptable. So yeah, I'm sorry, I rephrased that. The bowling was unacceptable. That is, you can't bowl 27 no balls.
It was okay to average unacceptable.
Yeah, totally unacceptable. I'm sorry. And the fielding, because I think at that point I was thinking about the fielding, and Ben Stokes was let off twice in 2 overs. Can't make that mistake. Not at this level, and certainly not with Ben Stokes looking to launch the way he eventually did. So yeah, I guess a lot left to be desired there. And Virat Kohli said as much. He said we weren't professional enough in this Test match, and we look to improve in the next game. So yeah.
Krishna, obviously, I'm glad that Aditya finished with Kohli there. There was also some chatter about Kohli and his obviously captaincy going into Test match. Obviously, he lost his first Test match. It doesn't really help his cause, does it? With Rahane having so much currency from the Australia series. Did you feel like Kohli was on top of his game here with his field placements and maybe his rotation of bowlers?
Okay, here's one thing, right? At least, so there's an interesting stat. Kohli has lost his last 4 Test matches as captain. He's lost to New Zealand, 1 in Australia, and now 1 to England. I did feel that at the moments where England were sort of running away with it, Virat Kohli should have attacked a bit more, especially with his field placements. Just create a chance, and he didn't really create as many chances. He was just sitting back and waiting for things to happen, which is what I kind of felt. I don't know if it's just rustiness or maybe he's just like sort of just kind of getting back into it after having his paternity leave and whatnot. I really don't know, but yeah, Kohli could have done better, I feel, and also, but I don't think Kohli's entirely to blame. He did try. I mean, he tried in the second innings to keep India in that contest, although he didn't get 100, but he tried. So we have to give him credit for that. But the way he got out in the first innings, also, I felt Kohli shouldn't have played. You don't expect a shot like that from Kohli against a bowler like Dom Bess. Like, it's Dom Bess to Virat Kohli. Come on, right? But yeah, I mean, Kohli could have done better. As far as we talk about Ajinkya Rahane versus Virat Kohli as captain, I don't necessarily see a point to change things right now. I mean, every Test captain goes through a period of losses. I don't think any Test captain has ever been, had a winless record. A lossless record. With I think Ajinkya Rahane, yes, he had a great series in Australia, but we can't just ditch Virat Kohli after a few losses. I think, and also he will come back. He's a champion cricketer, so he will find a way to come back. So we have to give him a chance to do that.
I think the main problem that Rahane has, that I'm not sure he gets in as a batsman currently. I think in the last 5 years, averaging just for 35, and obviously with a 0 and a 1 in this Test match, doesn't really help his cause. But I'm glad you touched on Dom Bess. I want to head to England spinners now. If we look here quickly to the stats of both bowlers, obviously Bess very much the key spinner in the first innings, Leach in the second. But the match figures of Jack Leach in this Test match was 50 overs, 9 maidens, 6 for 181. Dom Bess 34 overs, 5 maidens, 5 for 126. Obviously, some question marks, especially from me, to be completely fair, over Dominic Bess in particular. I'm not even still to this day biggest fan, but respect where credit's due. They took 11 wickets in the match between them. Lucy, what was your thoughts really on these two? Obviously, how did you feel that they quit themselves, especially being their first time in India?
This morning session with Jack Leach, I thought he was exceptional. Honestly, I was tweeting a bit, but yeah, I thought he was absolutely exceptional. And then Jimmy Anderson as well came in as well to do it. But I didn't see much of Dom Bess in their first innings bowling. I didn't watch much of it. I was caught up with uni and stuff.
Yeah,
but I was proper on it this morning. Yeah.
I mean, Anurag, we'll head to you regarding Dom Bess. What was your thoughts on him? I think it's fair to say, even though his exploits in Sri Lanka, people generally regarded Jack Leach as the best spinner England have. But was you impressed with Dominic Bess, in particular the way he set up Kohli in that first innings to take his wicket?
I think the way he bowled in the first innings was quite impressive. But when it came to the second innings, there were way many full tosses where batsmen, freely scored against him. But in the first innings, if you see, the pressure was there from either side. That is where he was able to contain and as well as take wickets and set up batsmen. So I think it's important for a bowler like him to have a pair so that they can hunt in pair and get wickets as soon as possible. But he needs some support from the other bowlers for him to settle down and pick wickets. If not, the second innings phase where the batsmen were trying to score quickly and as well as try to win the game, but that is where he had struggled and it was difficult for him to pick wickets.
Sign, I'll head to you. Obviously, Mr. Bess and Leach performed very well in this first Test match. Do you feel they will grow and get better as the series wears on, or will India's batsmen spend more time on concentrating on working out game plans to attack ball spinners?
Actually, I felt, to be honest, in the first innings, the Virat Kohli wicket was, I guess you could call it a good ball, but also there was a mix of luck in it. Okay. And I feel the England spinners will get better as the series progresses, but also I believe the Indian batsmen will try and figure them out. Like the next match, maybe, I don't know. I think the Indian batsmen
there was. Yeah, I think we'll go. I'll talk a little bit later on about India and their approach to the Test match. I think we mentioned. I think I said that the one chance they're going to have of India going maybe a little bit complacent, maybe feel after the Australia series, maybe a bit of a calm down from that. I'll just bring in Emily. Thank you for your comments. Just mentioning, I think India will come out strong in the series. I think we probably all agree with this. Listen, you guys, if you want to just jump in, tell me if you disagree. But I feel like India took England a little bit lightly. Not a huge amount. I think there's obviously a sense of professionalism throughout the ranks, but I feel it took them a little bit lightly, thinking, Bess and Leach, who are the guys trying to pitch up to India? Who cares about the Sri Lanka performance? We're just beating Australia. Look at the 11, and I still maintain that 1 to 11, India is still better man for man. But I think we'll have a more focused India, if you will. So but anyway, I'll go to my next point. I mean, we talk about talents on both sides, obviously young talents, and I'll go on to Rishabh Pant, as we discussed him in the pre-match show. Now, I'm pretty sure at least 2 people on this panel didn't pick Rishabh Pant. Am I right, Lucy?
Yeah.
I think so. One or two didn't. Was it you, Aditya? Was you one of the people who went with Saha instead? So obviously we saw in the first innings, his 91 of 88.
Yeah.
You know, he very much a mercurial talent, very much a maverick cricketer, I would like to call him. You know, hand-eye coordination is incredible, and granted, Jack Leach, he was just he really got the short end of the stick today, didn't he? Really, Jack Leach. I mean, he was bowling, he was just perfect for Rishabh Pant. He's bowling right into his arc, and he kept launching and launching and launching, even when India were a little bit spot of bother. Aditya, what's your thoughts now on Pant after this Test match?
Look, I think as I clarified in the previous show as well, there were never any questions about Pant's batting. The questions were always going to be about his keeping. And in this game, although his batting was phenomenal, the question marks about his keeping still remain. Now, here's the thing: on the first 2 days when England was batting, the pitch wasn't really turning square. So I don't think Pant was really challenged when he was standing up to the stumps. But had he been keeping, if England were batting fourth, then that might have been a different question. And I still think that it would have raised those same questions. With that said, I know that the management has a lot of faith in him, and they feel like he will get better. I hope so as well. But I guess in this game, there were issues other than Pant's keeping that really sort of took the spotlight away from him. Like the no balls or the fielders in the outfield not really taking their chances and so on. So I think a lot of that spotlight was taken away. But if the next game in Chennai, if Pant has a poor day of keeping, then I think that debate's going to be reignited.
I
him anyway.
The second innings, his dismissal in second innings to Jimmy Anderson, very much reminded me of a Quince the Cock, a recent Quince the Cock. This is I guess the flip side of Rishabh Pant. He goes so hard at the ball, and that will always get you in trouble on difficult wickets against quality bowlers, and we saw that today. It's a kind of like, there's not sublime to ridiculous per se, but we kind of saw he really to kind of dig it out, and we obviously did that so well in Brisbane. He wasn't able to do it today, obviously, against a high-class bowler in Jimmy Anderson. But Anurag, if I head to you about Pant, obviously, I'm not sure if you didn't select him as well for the first Test match from our last video. Can they persevere with Pant as keeper at 6, or do they need to accommodate him as just a specialist batsman in the top 6?
Well, let me come to his batting first. So if you see his previous centuries in England and Australia, they were actually patient knocks. They were not knocks where the strike rate was above 100 and all. So he is a patient cricketer as well. He can come up with knocks which require him to grit and stonewall as well. So I definitely pick him as a batsman in my team. Second thing, coming to his keeping. Even though like what Aditya had said, he was not as much challenged as he was in the first innings because the pitch was flat and everything was coming on to his gloves cleanly. But still, if you see, he had made many mistakes. The stumping of Jack Leach or Anderson, I don't remember quietly, but there were many mistakes in the first innings as well. So questions would definitely come whether he would be preferred as a specialist batsman or a keeper batsman. So probably we'll have to see in the second match if he's going to perform better, and that is when I'll pick up Wriddhiman Saha as a specialist keeper rather than Rishabh Pant.
What's your thoughts on the matter, Krishna? He seems to polarize the opinion, doesn't he, a little bit, Pant? Even though he does so well, he still doesn't. He hasn't grabbed everyone's attention. He still do we stick with him?
Well, it's not about. I think he's grabbed everybody's attention. It's just I think the question is, people are. I think he's there. There is a question of him being under too much scrutiny. As a keeper, as a batsman, also he burst onto the scene, with this young talent. He'd worked with Rahul Dravid in the under-19s. He'd come through in the IPL, and he's now suddenly this keeper batsman, this flamboyant keeper batsman who scores 100 in England in his first Test series there. He scores 100 in Australia in his first Test series there. Wins you a Test match in Brisbane. He almost wins you a Test match in Sydney. So he's caught everyone's attention. I think there's no doubt about that. I think with respect to the debate about Saha versus Pant, right? I think it's a matter of what exactly do you want from your player that plays as your keeper. Do you want better keeping? Do you want better batting? Right? Because Saha, let's face it, as a batsman has not been very successful, and he's been given a long run at number 7, number 8. There's been instances where he's had to come below Ashwin, below Jadeja, and they've actually Ashwin has played as a number 6, number 7, so that Saha can sort of, they've sort of used Ashwin as a cover for Saha at number 7, so that Saha can come in at number 8. When it comes to the batting aspect, I think Rishabh Pant as a batsman is undroppable at the moment. He's just absolutely, he's a phenomenal act. He scored the highest number of runs for you in that first innings. He's basically he's won you a series in Brisbane, in Australia. He can't be dropped as a batsman. As a keeper, now the question is, as a keeper, does he make it to the side? Do India want to persist with him and sort of work on his keeping, which I think he will get better at? Kumar Sangakkara, MS Dhoni, Gilchrist, they were not the best keepers in the world when they started out, right? But when you have a guy like Saha in the squad with you, who can sort of be a mentor to Rishabh Pant, I think that plays pays huge dividends for somebody like Pant to become the keeper for the future. So I would persist with Pant, but also be very cautious and be very, very happy to have a Saha in the side. I think that's where the debate should end.
Okay. Got a couple of comments here, Emily. Thanks so much, Emily, for contributing here. Sign, I'll go over to you, mate, with these comments from Emily. So we know Saha is better keeper. I think it's just a question of who's a better batsman. They don't know the space of both in the side. Saha, would you like to respond to that comment?
You asked me?
Yeah, sorry. If you respond to that comment from Emily, that'd be great.
Okay. So I see, according to me, it's a harsh decision, but I think Rahane should be kept out even after his great MCG 100, so that we can make place for Saha as a specialist keeper and Pant as a specialist batsman. Because let's be honest, Rahane hasn't been up to the mark for about how many years now? 3 years. So I think that's
probably the way to go. Maybe I think Rahane looks obviously the one who's most likely to get the chop, isn't it? Really, but I guess only time will tell. The next test only 4 days away. He's got it's a short time to turn it around. And then Emily's followed up with, there's only one space for one. I think it's a question of, do you want a better keeper, better batsman? That I think is a perennial question for every Test nation when they have these kind of questions, isn't it? Where do you go with, how many runs can a keeper save you? How many chances can it save you? It's a difficult one, isn't it, with that? I think I'd look at a balance, don't you, and say, let's say if Saha played in this game, would he have got India any closer to a victory, even a draw? You could argue on balance of it with the mistakes that Pant's made versus the runs that he's made, and obviously a lot of time needs to go into that. But thanks Emily for those comments, much appreciated. We've obviously got to head down now to day 5, this fantastic day for us English supporters. What happened today? England, 39 for 1, India 39 for 1 going into day 5. I'll be honest with you, I thought it was going to peak out to a draw. I did think, just like I said on Instagram yesterday on my video, that I felt like if I was going to win, it'd be England. I didn't really see India chasing out 420. I know what happened on Brisbane. I was watching pretty much the whole game, but I just felt that England, the bowling attack was fresher than that wary legs of Stark and Lyon, Hazel, etc. I didn't think that kind of same, no crowd, that I don't know, the energy wasn't there, I felt, for this. After the backdrop of what happened at Test series as well, on and off the pitch, I didn't think the momentum was with India so much. And I felt like England could actually pull this off. But I still probably went for a draw. It went to big like 3 hours later, and we're donning the Christmas jumpers and the England hats, aren't we? So, it's all good. But if we talk now, I'm going to open this to the whole floor. I'll start with you, Lucy. Obviously, England were incredible with Jimmy Anderson first up. 2 phenomenal balls to Shubman Gill and Ajinkya Rahane, ripping out the timbers with incredible 2 reverse swinging deliveries. Jimmy Anderson, what more can we say about this guy? 38 years old and still doing it. I think a shout out must go to Jack Leach as well. But just tell me, just basically your thoughts and feelings over today's play, Lucy.
Right, so I was actually that over where he went wicket out the ground, then the shout for LBW, and then another wicket out the ground. I actually walked out the room at that point, and then my phone was buzzing, so I walked back in and actually rewound it on my laptop. And I was just like, this man is aging like fine wine, honestly. Jimmy Anderson, he's still got it, and I don't think he's going anywhere, honestly. There's been a lot of speculation about whether they're going to drop him for Broad, but honestly, I wouldn't. I think he's still got it, and I think he still will have it for a few years, honestly.
It's funny, isn't it? You think like a year and a half ago, if you said like Jim Anderson probably bought the plane to Australia in 2021-22 series, you think you're mad. But it looks more and more likely that that's going to happen with every Test match. Krishna, we'll obviously go to the loser side of the show now. Lucy,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah. It's fine. See, I was on your side. I said 4-0 last week. Okay, so be kind.
Oh,
yeah, be nice.
You trying to flip the script to be controversial there, Krishna, I think, to be honest. But anyway, what was your thoughts going to Test matches? Do you think that India were going to pull off a draw or even a victory?
Okay, can I be completely honest here? I actually predicted an India loss in this first Test match, and I was the only guy who predicted an India loss in all of my friend circles. Everybody is going to roast me for this, and I welcome it. I'll genuinely tell you why. Okay, it's nothing to do with with England. What England coming in as the sort of the lesser opponent, or India coming in with Brisbane. It has nothing to do with any of that. I think it's just a matter of a complacency and being a little cocky. I've noticed this in cricket a lot, is that whenever somebody starts getting cocky, whenever any team starts getting cocky, they immediately lose, or something happens to them that makes them question everything. And I genuinely thought that England was going to shock India in this Test match. That's why I said 4-0. But that was just a prediction for fun. But yeah, I did. Being on the more serious side, I did feel that Root getting those double hundreds in Sri Lanka were something that India should have worried about going into this Test match, and they should have had better plans for him. I was really shocked that they didn't have a rank turner on the first day. I was so shocked. I'm like, what are you doing? You have a World Test Championship final coming up in 2 months, which you have, by the way, have not qualified for, right? How can you take this series lightly? How can you take this series lightly at all? There's still scenarios in which Australia can qualify, albeit there are more scenarios in which Australia can qualify than in which India can qualify. More number of scenarios, I mean. So I was shocked that India took it lightly, but it was a sign of the times in terms of the level, the banter, and all the noise on Twitter and everywhere else. So I was not surprised. I was not shocked. And also, India didn't look the team that won in Brisbane. They didn't have the same attitude when they came to this test match. They were like, okay, we're bowling the no balls. Who cares? So, yeah.
Can I just touch on that?
Yeah, please, sure. Please, Lucy. Yeah.
The no ball siren. Oh my God, that is doing my head in. Honestly, right? I'll admit it. This morning, I nodded off for 2 balls, and the siren woke me up. Honestly, I was like, "What is going on?"
Maybe to us British viewers watching at 4:30 in the morning. Maybe it's for our benefit. So we nod off them because
awful. Honestly, can they bring it in till like 7 or something?
I'm just going to bring a little comment for you there, Lucy, because Emily's posted to you. Just quickly saying that.
Thank you, Emily.
There we go. Right. Aditya, give me some emotion. Don't tell me, well done to England. Cricket's the winner. I want to hear raw Indian emotion. You can swear all you want, mate. It's not CFM. Swear all you want, mate. No problem.
Okay.
Speaking of CFM, we've got Khaled on the show.
Okay, so yesterday, when England were batting. Okay, so yesterday when England were batting, I was chatting with my father, and I said to him that there are only 2 options in this game. There are only 2 ways that this game can go. It's either a draw or India will win. He said England have no chance of winning at home, and it sounds outrageous, and I agree with that. It is outrageous, but we have to think of a number of factors here. I think one was that England batted too long in the first innings. without really knowing the nature of the wicket. See, that India didn't bat very well. The top order gave away their wickets was a secondary issue. There's no way that anyone could have predicted that. But you look at the amount of time that England batted for in the second innings. I personally felt like they weren't giving the bowlers enough time, because you look at the deterioration of the pitch. It sped up towards the end of the fourth day and the beginning of the fifth day. It wasn't like day three was particularly bad for batting either. So to me, I felt like we could have pulled off a 2008 where we chased down 387, and we still had, I think England still had Graham Swan and Panesar at the time.
There's that when Sehwag scored that amazing knock. I think in that is that Sehwag in that one.
So
Sachin.
Sehwag started off with.
He started off the Sehwag. I'm sure he scored very quickly in the first hour or so. If I remember that.
Yeah,
that
I think Sehwag scored some 88 or 68.
Yeah.
And then Sachin scored 103 not out, followed by Yuvraj, who also made 85 not out, or something like that, and they took India home. So to me, that was my inspiration. I felt like India was going to go that way. And looking at the batting lineup, I think Rohit Sharma started in that fashion. Hitting Jofra Archer for 6, and it looked like he was in the mood to do it. And even this morning, I felt pretty confident that India would go the distance. But it's a bit strange. Sometimes I think this generation of Indian batsmen, they don't really play spin as confidently as Sachin, Dravid, Sehwag, Lakshman, and Ganguly. And part of the reason is because the current lot has been bred on this diet of fast, bouncy, swinging wickets, because that was the concern post 2010, 2011, when India were whitewashed in England and Australia. So there has been that concern on how they play spin, and so I think perhaps they paid too much respect to Jack Leach and Dom Bess. But with that said, I mean, credit England. I don't know what anyone can say after James Anderson bowled those deliveries to Shubman Gill and Ajinkya Rahane. I think they were unplayable. Most batsmen would get out playing those deliveries. As for, but there's also one other thing that I wouldn't say bad question, but I think it's an observation, which is that if you look at India played the last Test match in Brisbane, they haven't played competitive cricket since, and to me, that was the rustiness that showed in this game. Because I think before a high-profile series such as this, you need to have some sort of competitive cricket going, because all our players were recovering from injuries, then they were in rehab for a bit of time, and then they were in quarantine for 6 days, and then they played cricket. So somewhere I think that rustiness showed, whereas England had played a competitive Test series in Sri Lanka, and then they came to India, 6 days quarantine, and so I think they were a bit more cooked in that sense, and that might have contributed to some of the fielding and bowling lapses that we might have seen.
Thank you, Aditya. As measured as always, despite me trying to goad you. Measures always, mate. No, I love it, mate. Right, we've got a couple of comments here and legitimate questions here. Not fawning over Jimmy Anderson, Emily, and Lucy. We've got Khalid here. Why do you guys think India struggled to play Leach? Anurag, I'll head to you, mate, for that question. Would you like to answer it?
Yeah, so it has always been the trend, right? So you go to England conditions, try to fend off Broad and Anderson, but again, give your wickets to Moeen Ali and Adil Rashid. So we've been always doing this from the past 10 years, you could say. You give wickets to Steve O'Keefe, you give wickets to Jason Krejza. I mean, some of the best players of the spin are in the team. And you try to play spin this way. I think it is very bad. Now I think we can finally agree what Aditya said. We are not the best players of spin anymore. We'll have to agree that we are good batsmen, but not the best players of spin anymore.
I feel it's a little bit harsh to compare Jack Leach with Jason Krejza, to be all honest, mate. He went about eight for about 368 runs or something nonsense in that Test match, and he never saw her again. Do you know what I mean? Same as O'Keefe as well. But anyway, we want to delve too much into that comparison, Anurag. Sign, I'll head to you. We got a question here from Emily, which is a legitimate one, to be fair, because the guy's in the form of his life, it seems. What's the game plan for Joe Root into second Test, Sign?
Okay, if I would be able to answer this, I would be sitting in that Indian
You've been a
dressing room right
captain.
now. I don't know. Let him score his century and then see what happens, because this guy is out of the world right now.
To
Oh
be
my
fair,
God.
as an England fan in 2019, I'm not sure how Lucy felt. I felt the same with Stephen Smith. I just thought, just let him get his bloody century. He'll get bored of batting and just get out, because how else going to get this guy out? Do you know what I mean? I remember he got out on that fifth test like 70 odd, and it like made waves over social media. Stephen Smith's out for less than 100. It was like that was just everything's going crazy. I mean, Anurag, Krishna, Aditya, anyone want to go on that? What would be the setup for Kohli? You think the tactics from Shastri and Kohli going into the second Test match, just trying to stifle Joe Root, like they stifled Stephen Smith in the Australia series?
Yeah, so I think they'd have to cut off significant scoring areas. So that would be the offside in my view, because as you said earlier in the show, that he didn't really employ the sweep the way he did in Sri Lanka. So clearly, I think there was a plan there to stop him from sweeping, but he found an alternative, which is by playing a lot through cover and they're playing a lot on the back foot. So somehow, I think they're going to have to find a way to stifle that. But the other thing is that it's important for the Indians to give Joe Root what he doesn't expect. He knows that there's going to be a trial by spin, and in my view, it's important to sort of shock him a bit. Instead of bringing Ashwin on immediately, get Bumrah in. Try Bumrah. Try getting Bumrah to bowl an in-swinging Yorker or something, because that's something that Root would not expect. So I think they're going to have to play with his mind a bit, because skill-wise, there's no question that he's outstanding. He's incredibly confident, and he's got all bases covered. So now it's about playing with him mentally and getting him in that offside channel early on, as virtually every batsman in the world is vulnerable in that initial period of time.
Thank you, Aditya. If we head obviously now to second test starting in only 4 days' time, quick turnaround, obviously staying in Chennai starting Saturday morning. What changes, if any, would you guys make? I'll start with you, Lucy. Regarding for England.
I wouldn't make any, to be honest.
You mentioned before you wouldn't rotate Anderson and Broad.
No, so I think they will rotate Anderson and Broad. But why fix when there isn't broken,
Obviously, we know some 2 enforced changes. Well, 1 enforced change, I say, because obviously Josh Butler's on a plane back home now, and then Johnny Bairstow is available again. Ben Foakes has been told already he's going to play ahead of Josh Butler. Instead of Josh Butler, obviously, he could bring in Johnny Bairstow as a keeper batsman, but I think they're going to bring in Ben Foakes for Butler and give him the opportunity. Dan Lawrence seems the guy to be potentially want to make way, I'd imagine, for Johnny Bairstow. He did well in Sri Lanka. Obviously, Lawrence didn't do so well in this Test match. Got caught in the crease a couple of times, but so I think it'll be interesting to see if they stick with Dan Lawrence. I think Bairstow will come in, but I do appreciate what you're saying. I mean, I think the only one change is Foakes and Butler. The Broad Anderson conundrum is very interesting to me, because look how Anderson bowled today with that, with the old ball on 5th day, absolutely superb. But I think they're going to bring Broad in. I just think that's the tactic this year. It's just a rotation policy to make sure they're okay come November in the first Ashes test.
I agree. I think that's what they will do, but I wouldn't personally be doing it.
No, fair enough. Krishna, India, 11 changes, no changes.
Well, actually, I just want to I want to add one point to the Anderson thing. Anderson needs to go past Kumble, man, in terms of the highest number of wickets. They need to play him. They have to. But yeah, for India, I think, man, what I mean, yes, changes are necessary, but what changes do we make? Because there's so many options available, right? First thing, like everybody said, Rahane should. Rahane has not had a good series, and it's true. Rahane has, in the last 3-4 years, somebody mentioned he averages 35 at home. He's not really done much at home in Test cricket. So is it time to drop him? Maybe they may consider Rahul or a Hardik Pandya I guess more so Rahul for that position. But he's the vice captain, so how do you drop him? It's such a conundrum.
That's been a merry-go-round, hasn't it? Rahane,
yeah, exactly.
Jara.
We have no idea. Man. I think, and then I think one more change that might probably come in is Kuldeep for Nadeem. But it didn't happen this Test match. Why would it happen in the second Test match? That's probably one. I mean, the line of thought that could be considered for the Indian cricket team management. But I mean, I just thought that Kuldeep had to play. You need a guy, like somebody said, you need somebody who gives you revs on the ball. How the hell can you not play Kuldeep? But yeah, those two changes are changes I foresee. Maybe even Mayank Agarwal coming in. I don't know if that's a necessary change, but they may consider it, given that Rohit Sharma has not lived up to the expectation, not lived up to the potential in the last couple of games. They might consider doing that, but yeah, it's very tough. Mayank also, by the way, best batsman in 2019, and 2020 was, I mean, cricket was really not present in 2020. So yeah, Mayank Agarwal maybe.
Is Anurag, I'll head to you. Do you know if Axar Patel is fit?
I don't think he's fit. So they brought in Shahbaz Nadeem in order for him to contain. But unfortunately, Ashwin had to do the bulk of bowling, and he had to do both roles, where he had to attack and play a defensive role. So that is where in the first innings we all as a team struggled. But again, if you see in the second match, the wicket will play like a typical Chennai wicket. The first 3 days would be good for batting, and the last 2 days would again play like a raging turner. So I think they won't make much changes. It's just one change where Shahbaz Nadeem would make way for Kuldeep Yadav. But again, there is no bowler to contain, so you'll have to go all guns blazing. You'll just have to pick wickets, concede runs, but pick wickets.
I mean, I think obviously you've got a wonderful talent there in Hardik Pandya. I just feel, from as an Indian selection point of view, can you really afford to have both Pant and Hardik Pandya in the 5 and 6 in the same team? That would worry you a little bit. But Saad, I'll head over to you. What change would you make going into the second test?
Firstly, I would replace Shahbaz Nadeem with Kuldeep for obvious reasons. And maybe I would go with Saha in for Rahane so that we don't miss any more stumpings.
Okay. So you get
because
Pant
Ashwin
and
really needs
Saha.
someone to support him a bit.
Okay. So Aditya, we'll head over to you. What's your thoughts?
I'd like to replace the bowling coach. No, I'm just kidding. I like Bharat, he's a good coach. I'm just kidding. But I think if potentially, as everyone's been mentioning, Kuldeep for Shahbaz Nadeem, that would be obvious choice now upon reflection. I don't think it's warranted, but perhaps they could try playing Mohammad Siraj for Ishant Sharma. That's not to say that Ishant Sharma has bowled badly, but it's just to offer some sort of variety to the Indian attack.
Okay, I think I'll finish up there. I've got some more comments to finish off with. Jibo, what's happening, man? Broad next test. This is a guy who once likened Stuart Broad to Jock Callis, guys, just let you know. I go back with G about 14 years. He's a huge Stuart Broad fan, and I mean absolutely massive. Probably similar to how you're a massive fan of James Anderson, Lucy. Anyway, but thank you, Jibo, for that. I think you're actually right, mate. I think that Broad will probably play the next test and probably do very well as well, I'm sure. Emily bringing Kuldeep, I think that's quite unanimous, isn't it? I think Kuldeep must play ahead of Nadeem. And yeah, I don't think with a doubt they drop Rahane. I agree. I think Rahane will get the whole series. Kohli publicly backed him today. I was very ferocious in his support for Rahane today in the post-match press conference. So I see Rahane going no of these 3 test matches. Let him play this series. If he obviously continues to fail, then I'll have to see. But I think we'll get the whole series personally. And yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see a rotation of seamers into the 3rd test. But I think apart from Nadeem and Kuldeep, I don't see much changing. I think that's it, guys. I mean, my perspective, I'd probably just said the enforced changes. They've got the one change. I'd probably bring in Johnny Bairstow for Dan Lawrence, to be fair. I think it was quite harsh to Dan Lawrence to be putting at 3 as well. I thought he was, he's only played a couple of test matches and he's slinging him at 3 in India. I thought it was a bit harsh. I mean, I know they may be looking at for long-term position, but surely Ollie Pope, who's played a bit more cricket, if Joe Root doesn't want to go up, then even Stokes at 3, I wouldn't have minded. But I think to thrust Lawrence in there was a little bit harsh on him. It was almost a bit lambs to the slaughter, I felt. So anyway, I think Bairstow will come in for him. But interested to see how Ben Foakes, gets on the team again. So yeah, we'll see. I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. Unless you guys got any more points to add before we go.
Yeah, 1 point.
Anurag?
Yeah, so like everyone were pointing out that Anderson's deliveries were unplayable, but I'll have to bring a controversial opinion here. So I'd like to say they were not unplayable. It was just the batsman's way of playing it. If you see, both Gill and Rahane had literally a bat and pad gap where I could fit my limousine in. That was not the play. That isn't the way you play an Anderson who's reverse swinging the ball. I mean, I'm surprised how Gill wasn't found out in the Australian conditions as well. With Mitchell Starc coming left arm over the wicket, he should have definitely seen the way he brings the bat in a slant way. I mean, that is one thing I would like to point out.
Anurag, can I ride your limousine, man?
Definitely.
I was going to say, I mean, I can borrow your limousine. I've already stayed at Krishna's house in Bangalore. I'll come and ride your limousine. I've got it all sorted, you know. I'll pop my ID to you for a genuine, serious conversation. I've got my place sorted, isn't it, when I go to India. There we go. Anyway, yeah, guys. Okay, well, I think we're finished there. Obviously, looking forward to the second test very much so now. I think it makes it more interesting as well, to be honest. I think India smashing this first test. There's elements of just a bit boring and, you know, what we're expecting to happen. But now, you know, England winning, I feel like it's really added some spice, no pun intended, to this series, you know. So I'm looking forward to it. Guys, before we go, where can we find you all? Lucy, we'll start with you.
My Twitter handle at Change the Overs.
Lucy's also an aspiring writer as well. And she's hopefully got some good news coming up as well, which I'm sure she'll announce in due course. So we'll have to wait and see for that. Krishna, listen, guys, if you've got 56 seconds available, you must watch this video. I'm going to put it in the description below. It's the very one and only rap review. This man is on fire. He spits fire when it comes to, trust me, this is a Tupac reincarnated when it comes to cricket rap review. So you can check this out. Genuinely, it's a really good video. It's very cool. It's very interesting as well. So yeah, I will pop in the description. But Krishna, where can we find you, mate?
Yeah, so my Instagram here, Krishna_Kalki_. That's my Instagram. You can also find me on YouTube at Krishna Kalki. That's my YouTube channel. Also on Facebook at Krishna the Kalk. And guys, subscribe to Uneven Bounce and subscribe to my channel as well.
Side?
So you can find me on Instagram and bust your nut. Or you can type in Shan Banerjee, you can get that.
Yeah.
I would say the reason why I follow this guy is purely on the name initially. It was just Bush. I had to follow Bush Nut, right? I mean, look at this guy. It looks like a guy you'd be called Bush or not. You know what I mean? No, but it's like, you go check Sign out. Really, really good stuff on his page. And yeah, give him a follow, guys. Anurag, where do you find you?
Hey guys, you can find me on Facebook as Anurag Reddy and on Twitter as the obvious Madlad. I'm a great cricket fan and a club cricketer as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anurag. Aditya?
Aditya Mehta, Instagram and Twitter, and Aditya Mehta on Facebook.
You'll also find Aditya on Cricket Flats magazine. It's a show that I occasionally appear on. A brilliant channel and platform covering all South African cricket. If you're interested in cricket in general, they do a brilliant job over there. Hallin and the boys, fantastic stuff. And obviously the guys, Lucy's always on there as well. So it's brilliant stuff. That's it for guys. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to the next test. We'll do a second test wrap. After the finale, maybe it is. Could be 5 days. Who knows? But we'll see. Anyway, thanks so much. If you like the content, guys, I've got more videos coming out. I've got one coming out later on today called Fat Cricketers. Do check it out. I quite enjoy doing this video. Slightly different, but I felt it was time to publish this video. I've been thinking for quite some time. And yeah, just check me out and check everyone else out, and hopefully see you guys again. Take care.
Cheers.